Hi, welcome to the Chef's Table. I'm Chef Kevin Brooks. Glad to have you back. This week, after my trip to Orange Beach and Gulf Shores area a couple of weeks ago, I felt like I need to give everybody some pointers and some tips and some recipes on some seafood dishes. So tonight, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do shrimp and grits, and we're going to do blackened mahi-mahi with crawfish tails and sauce nantua. First thing I'm going to do is cut up some vegetables to make our shrimp and grits and our crawfish tails and sauce nantua. So for the crawfish tails, we're going to get the sauces going first. We're going to do a classic trinity is what they call it in New Orleans cooking. And that consists of bell peppers, onions, and celery. So I've got a red bell pepper here. Let me take this green one. I'm going to show you how the easy way is to break one of these down. What you want to do is put it down. Remember, I've showed you, keep your fingers in so that you don't end up cutting yourself, and just take enough off the bottom so that it'll roll over and lay flat. Now we're going to turn it over on its side and do the same thing off the top. Okay, now that we've got the top and bottom off, if you'll look in here, you see these ribs. What I'm going to do is take and put the knife and go straight down at one of those ribs. Now what we're going to do is remove the ribs and the seeds by taking the knife and laying it flat, and we're just going to go along real gently. Watch your fingers, and we're just going to roll the center out. I've seen a bunch of different ways of doing this. To me, that's the easiest because you get everything out of it all at once. That we can throw in the garbage. That's not one of those things we can really use in the stock pot. Now, to make this more manageable, we're going to cut it in half. What we're going to do first is cut it into sticks. Put the tip of the knife on the cutting board. Again, your fingers are back so that the blade can ride the knuckle. And then what you're going to do is do not lift the blade off of the cutting board. And just straight back. Keep your thumb out of the way and keep your fingers curled back. And you can just go right on through and not have to worry about cutting yourself. Okay? Once we get it cut into sticks, we're going to take and bunch all those up, and get these few little seeds out of the way, and take and turn them the other way. You see in the recipes when you read them, they say dice. Well, that's what we're doing here. This is a dice. And what we're going to do is make sure that we try to cut everything the same size. The reason we want to cut it the same size, if it's the same size, it'll cook at the same speed. So, because I'm using green and red, I'm going to take and switch now to the red. And again, same thing. We're just going to real quick right down through. And again, so long as that knife stays on my fingers, I don't have anything to worry about. Now, turn it sideways, back through, make your squares. Not only does it help everything cook evenly, but it makes the dish look better. So now for the onion. To dice an onion, you take just enough of the top off. All right, put that in the garbage, then just nip the edge. The reason we want to nip the edge is this thing is like a flour, and there's layers, and they're all connected here. If I only take a little bit of that off, they'll stay together. So, straight through to the board, and now we can peel the outer layer off. All right, and you just peel off however many it takes to get down to the pretty white onion. Now, we're going to do that again here real quick on this one. Peel it. And now to dice an onion, it's just a little bit different, okay? What we're going to do now is we're going to take and lay your knife perpendicular to the board. Put your hand on top. I see too many people try to hold it like this, and that's a bad way. So just enough pressure to hold it, and then one pull, go all the way back. And do one more, and go all the way back. Now we're going to take it and turn it this way with the root end where we left the little piece. And you'll notice the blade's going to start beyond that. But as I pull, you see it goes down and misses it. So all of this will stay together and makes it easier to cut. All right? Then the same thing. We're going to go across and make our cubes. We're going to, that way, everything's now the same size. And again, we just go straight down to the board. And we've got our onion diced. So, let me do this other one just real quick. and then we're going to get onto our sauce. Don't worry about speed at first. At first, you care more about the size of the cut being the same and everything looking nice. Speed will come. All right? And it's not as important in your world as it is in mine for everything to happen super fast. I'm going to take a pan here, put it over high heat, theoretically. One of these should light. There we go. Ah, there they all go. Good. All right. So we've got a pan overheat here. I'm going to go over here and get some butter. Just a few pieces of butter. Put those in and let them start to melt. What I need to get here, too, is some celery. I forgot that part. So we'll get a piece of celery out. And the same thing. Cut it down to a manageable size. And then turn it long ways. And go straight through. Again, remember, the blade's always moving. And then just like we did before, turn it sideways and go through it. The typical ratio on each of these, if this was French cooking and we were doing celery, carrots, and onions, it'd be a mirepoix. Okay, and we'd be using 1 part onion to a half part, or excuse me, 2 parts onion, 1 part celery, 1 part carrot. Here, what we do is for the carrot, we substitute the bell pepper. And we do the same thing. We want 1 part onion, or 2 parts onion, 1 part bell pepper, 1 part celery. Okay? So that's a good, doesn't matter how much you're doing, that's a good ratio to use. Now, if we were doing Spanish cooking, the same thing would be called a sofrito, and we would add garlic. So I'm going to take the vegetables, put them in the pan, and we're going to start to saute those down. Now, those are going to just sit here and hang out. We're also wanting to sweat these down, so we'll go in and add some salt at the beginning. If I was doing a saute, I wouldn't add the salt because I would want some color on the vegetables. Here what I want to do is just get the vegetables to release their moisture and soften so we can keep on going and build our sauce. So while these are working right here, I'm going to start going on our shrimp and grits. So let me go back here to the refrigerator. I've got some shrimp. I've got some tasso ham. So, all right. Now the shrimp I have here, and if you're wondering the best place to get your seafood, Southern Fish and Oyster. Go see Ralph. Tell him Kevin sent you down there. That's where you get big, beautiful shrimp like these. They come with the heads off. And I'm going to show you real quick. Most people in Mobile especially know how to peel a shrimp. For those who don't, take and start at the legs and go around. Now, a lot of restaurants leave the tails on for presentation, okay? I don't think you should have to put your hands in the food. So what I do, if you give this a squeeze and you work with it real gently and give it a little shake, a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times you can get the meat that's in the tail to come out. And I've got some good examples of that here. So that way I don't have to wade through and find the shells and pick those out. You know, if I'm out having a nice dinner, I don't want to have to pick things up with my hands. Also, the shells, do not throw them away. All right? You keep them. That's the beginning of the best shrimp stock you've ever had. So I'm going to finish peeling this, go on and get it deveined, and I'll show you how to devein them when we get back. Most people know. Keep working on our sauce for our blackened fish, and we'll get that going right when we come back.